Well, hey, good morning. Welcome to the Blue Gamer Bluecast morning show. I'm your host, Adam Blue, 30 plus year video game veteran, where every weekday morning, Monday through Friday, around 8 a.m. Central, I'll jump to the latest gaming news, what I've been getting into. It is early. Maybe for you, maybe for me. I mean, I'm usually up anyway because getting kids to school, and then I've got my full-time job that starts early. So it's like, hey, I have this time I can fill in to talk games. But today, oh my gosh, I thought I got good sleep, went to bed, good time, but I'm just not feeling it today. It is that type of Monday. It's September 9th, 2024, September 9th. So 2009, if we want to talk anniversaries real quick, it was when the Dreamcast came out. And love the Dreamcast. In fact, when the Dreamcast was first coming out, I did not think I would be getting one because I was at the point where I was still living with my parents, but I was working, so I was, uh, paying for my video games. But I think because I had to have gotten it right when it came out, but also I got it on sale somehow because I just remember my mom being like, "Hey, there's this new console. It's on sale. Should I get it?" And I'm like, "Yes." Um, I wish I remember the details of that because was it like a first discount? Was it some sort of like because it was early on. Anyway, yeah, that was kind of a cool marketing thing. 99.99. Everything about the Dreamcast was awesome. And I've brought it up here before where I think Sony killed it. I'll always think that in the back of my mind. As much as I don't like to pick sides when it comes to video games, I would say that the good guy is Microsoft, even if it doesn't seem like it. I think because of backwards compatibility, and I'm big on playing older games. So yeah, there's that. Well, good to see you all in the chat. Ultronimus, Chris, confirm that Adam is Garfield. That's a good one. I remember we got it for Sonic Adventure, but it had no memory card, so we had to always play the game in a single long play. Whoa, that's crazy. And I'm assuming you eventually got a memory card. That Sonic game, that Sonic Adventure that came on Dreamcast, I remember that blowing me away. I remember when, and I remember when I first saw it, it was the Funko Land in Irving that turned into a GameStop. It might not be there before. It's right next to the same shopping center as the Target in Irving. And they just had, a TV on the counter with the Dreamcast playing Sonic Adventure. I remember thinking, man, Sonic looks amazing in 3D. But it's interesting how Sonic Adventure didn't necessarily age as good as Mario 64. I always found that a little interesting. Eventually when Sonic Adventure 2 came out, you got the memory card. And I love Sonic Adventure 2. But yeah, anyway, I just saw the 99 and that made me think Dreamcast. Because it's funny how I don't know if I do it as much anymore. I haven't been thinking about it, but in the past, when I would think back during eras of my life, I would always wrap it around in what consoles did I own at the time. It's like, oh yeah, what consoles did I own? What was the big game? That's kind of how, I measure different moments through time. Kind of interesting. There was another point I was going to make about the 9. Oh yeah, anniversary. So another anniversary that's actually a 20-year anniversary this year is actually July, and I missed it. Was the I Love Bees ARG alternate reality game. I don't know if any of you remember that for Halo 2. So this was 2004. I had already moved out of my parents' house, but I was still nearby, so I would hang out there a lot because I just have vivid memories of being on my parents' computer going to the I Love Bees website. It's funny, even though I had my own computer and stuff, I think, like, even though I had moved out, I was still nearby, so I was still always hanging out, But yeah, I just remember doing that whole thing, that whole I Love Bees thing, up until even going, and it was actually in Irving. I was just talking about the city of Irving, and it was the Irving Mall. It was a certain payphone I had to be at, and I got to it at the time I was supposed to. And then a couple showed up. And, we're all talking like, okay, do we know what we're supposed to answer with? And I said, yes, blah, blah, blah. And the guy's like, well, I think it's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh. And then the phone rings and I answer it. And then I give the answer that the guy said. And it was right. So I'm glad we came together. I trusted the guy. But anyway, it was needed where like you were to answer these payphones that would ring at a certain time. And if you gave the right answer, it would like unlock the next bit of information. I forget that whole thing, but yeah, that was 20 years ago. Pretty crazy, to think of what I was doing 20 years ago. It's not much different than now in terms of, video games, playing video games and all that. Yeah, the job I was working was private security, which I worked a lot of hours doing that. That was typically 6 days a week, 10-hour days. Yeah, back then I was working so much. That was crazy. Okay, let's see. Let's real quick look at my Exophase profile. Of course, Exophase being the website that aggregates all your video game platform activity. So did I play this past weekend? So this past weekend, so what's crazy is, and I guess that could have been a good way to start this episode, where it's like, if I've been saying it feels like summer's officially over, I think today you could say for sure, because when I was walking my youngest to school, it was chilly enough at that time where I grabbed a jacket. Yeah, so it's that time. I mean, it's probably not jacket weather all day, and as the sun is up higher. But that's what the weekend was like. The weekend was just nice weather, and I was outside a lot. I didn't play as much as I normally would have. And doing other things too. But yeah, the weather being so nice, like it's just reminding me. I can't wait later today when between work meetings, when I take little strolls outside just to take in the weather. But anyway, in between going outside, I was playing just mainly Astro Bot and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2 is good, and it's big in terms of I still feel like I'm figuring out, like, yeah, it says I've played 5 hours and 9 minutes. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface in terms of maybe not weapons, but abilities and other classes. I've mainly been playing the single player campaign story, which is pretty cool. I feel like it's something that could get boring, but it doesn't. I tend to stop when it's more like, okay, I gotta go and do something. Because it's just like, one, just, oh man, yeah, you know what? I wonder if I'm gonna try to show off some screenshots here real quick. Because it's interesting, and I brought this up before, where I feel like the game looks, oh, and the patch just came out. Okay, that's good. Yeah, let me get the screens up so I can show you guys. Let's see. Let me see if I could do a different share. Sorry. Okay. So if I did share screen window, that, bam, and then show on screen, there we go. Not the best, not the biggest. Anyway, just some scenes from, like, this was a great screenshot where I'm looking up as my character, seeing all those flying Tyranids flying around. And then here's just a shot just with the lighting. And this was very interesting. This was deliberately crafted in this way, because when you come into the room, to the right, I am doing a battle, to a fight. There's a Tyranid. The way that light is and it casts on it, it just looks amazing. It's like they did that on purpose. Here's just a badass shot of the ship flying into the city. Just some other cool shots. Yeah, this game is fun. It there's just so much I could be doing because I haven't even been doing multiplayer. I think I tried to get a multiplayer session going, but I couldn't like figure it out. All right, let me go back to this. Okay. Um, but so far, what I just like is just learning the controls. It's where it's got its shooting mechanics, the typical, third person shooting mechanics. Excuse me. It's got melee combat, which works really well. It's got a parry system, a dodge mechanic. It's got the typical mechanics you would find in other different various third person games, but they're fitted on the kind of the Space Marine game. And what is that really? I guess it's kind of almost Gears of War like, but like almost more like the first Space Marine, which um I've never really been into Gears of War, but I could feel where there's some similarities in Gears of War that mainly has to do with the animations and the movement of the character to give them that weight, that feeling in the world. But in here, the melee combat just works real great because it is RB, and you just press it and do combos. Then you hold it down if you want to like end a combo. And then in the middle of that, RT is to shoot your gun. So you could be doing cool combos where you're just like punching someone. Like, yeah, if you do a non-combo, hold down the punch button or the melee button, it like targets the enemy. So you could be doing attacks, punches, and then you do this targeted enemy where when you press the right trigger, it just automatically shoots them in the head, gives you some health back or armor. So there's a lot of like acrobatics when it comes to doing the combat. And a lot of times it even seems like you would be overwhelmed. So that's another interesting thing they did here. The little guys are easy to kill. So they make it where you can be surrounded by so many of them, but just one swipe of the sword will cut all through them. So again, yeah, with the animations and how they even do the combat animations, it really gives the game a really cool, unique feel. I think it's worth it. Like if you were to look at releases this year that you'd pay the full price, that might be 70. I forget how much, if it was 60 or 70 for the main game, plus up, I think, to 99 for the early access stuff. But anyway, like this game is that value. Like it has that value because of the single player component, the multiplayer, the unlocks. A lot of fun. And it's just sad because I'm about to talk about Astro Bot, but during all this, I'm wanting to play Gunbreaker 4 more. I'm wanting to play Star Wars Outlaws more, which it's funny, it still hasn't updated since August 31st on here. I still want to play some Black Myth Wukong. But it's, it's one of those things where as much as I like to play everything, I can't play all the time. And I kind of, it's not that I can't, it's just, I think personally, I get bored, I guess. I can get bored of a game depending on the game, and then I have to move on. But yeah, so let's talk about Astro Bot. Astro Bot, I put 3 hours and 23 minutes. Astro Bot is really good. I mean, because it's up there with, the mainline 3D Mario games in terms of it being a 3D platformer where you have, the levels where you collect items, and it's about getting all the different things. And if you have enough, you can then unlock the next level. So it's very much in that vein of the Super Mario 64, which it's interesting because it seems like maybe that's the only direction these 3D platformers can go into, where they're these separate little worlds that you just have to collect all of a certain thing. That seems to be, I mean, is it because then that just works and you do that? Or is there room for these 3D platformers to have a different like gameplay loop? I don't know. But what's going on in Astro Bot works because the controls feel great. You're constantly doing something. Like there's always a enemy, a puzzle, a thing to do. So I have played through the entire first world, even the hidden levels, and there could be more hidden levels I don't know about, but so far the ones that I think I know of, I've gotten. And I've gotten all of the collectibles from each in that first world. And so that gives me a good feeling of the gameplay loop. And I love it. Like I can't wait to go through the rest of it. So 3 hours for that first world, getting everything. And I think there's 5 worlds. That could be the time. It could be that It won't take too much longer, and it was the onboarding that really took me the most time, because there were certain areas where I would restart, or I was thinking, because I don't know, I'm figuring out what this game is presenting to me. So that, because as I go to later levels, even the secret levels, it's like, oh, I know what they're trying to do here, so I can like quickly get to where I need to. Very cool. There was this hidden level in the first world that, because in it you're rescuing Astro Bot characters, and some of them are characters from video games, not just Sony games. Sometimes games you can associate with PlayStation, but it's really a celebration of any game. But anyway, this one secret level, I went and I rescued what was Richter Belmont. I'm like, oh, sweet, it's Richter Belmont. And then later on, it's Alucard. I'm like, sweet, Alucard. And then on that same level was the main character from Bloodborne, the Hunter. I know there's a name for that. And I was like, oh, sweet. Like, I love Bloodborne. And it's cool that one level has characters from Bloodborne and Castlevania, which to me, Bloodborne is almost like the 3D Castlevania. Even though Dark Souls is pretty much a 3D Castlevania, Bloodborne with the cane whip, the aesthetic and everything lended more to Castlevania. So I think it made a lot of sense that they did it that way. Some levels, like there was Ryu from Street Fighter to collect, Nathan Drake from Uncharted. So there's a whole bunch of those. So yeah, still a lot in this game. It is actually, so just thinking about it just now, I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what I do here and there. And it's interesting because it almost seems like the levels are smaller and shorter, and they are, but that's not indicative of like the game length. That's more of a good way to make a excuse me, a fun little play session to jump in, play one of these levels, just in case you have to go back and get something you missed. Anyway, great game. I recommend it. If you have a PlayStation, you need to be playing it. Interesting though that I'm not getting the achievements for Space Marine 2 to show up here. But it's good because it's a newer game. All right. Let's see what else is going on here. That's all I've pretty much played. Yeah, I don't think I played anything else. That's really about it. I didn't do any VR. Didn't play the arcade this weekend. Yeah, so that was about it. What is the other thing? Let's look at this Reddit gaming leaks and rumors. Yakuza Wars leaked. It seems to be a mobile game. That's interesting. Let's see. Yeah, prototype build of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare has leaked. That's interesting. Oh, Jason Schreier debunks claim that he would comment on the GTA 6 delay tomorrow. Oh, I wonder if there's news on that. Oh yeah, because GTA 6 supposedly delayed to early mid 2026. And PC is planned for around 12 to 18 months after the console launch. It's so crazy that GTA can get away with this. But also it's interesting about the delay. I wonder. Yeah, that's further away. 2026. Has it always been 2026? For some reason, I was thinking 2025. But this is interesting. Now that I'm thinking, for some reason, I was thinking 2025. So if it's 2026, that kind of changes the way I was thinking about the positioning of the PS5 Pro and the Switch 2 coming out. I think a lot of gaming companies are probably, like the hardware manufacturers, and maybe any gaming company in general is kind of looking to GTA 6 to be kind of like this revitalization for the industry. Who knows if that ushers in a whole new generation of people that play video games. So I'm kind of curious, how much this is the game or how much this is, the manufacturers working with Rockstar, and not that they're working to do something more of like, GTA 6 coming out. They want it to run really good. New consoles by then are going to be out. I think the sales are going to be crazy. That's probably going to allow other consoles to sell more potentially. And so that's the other part of this. Like my mind is going through a whole bunch of scenarios, like Microsoft having their handheld out by then, the PS5 Pro, but also potentially their handheld. But it's interesting, early to mid 2026. Yeah, well, we'll see. Let's see. Nate the Hate Square Enix has many things planned for Xbox. Yes, I think that's the thing we were talking about. Where they're going more all in on Xbox. I forget if I was listening to a podcast, but someone put all of that into a different context. I don't know if it's true or not, but when it comes to Square Enix, when they go out and state things, a lot of times they are saying it as if that would be a good idea, but not that they actually go through with a lot of these things. There was an example on, oh man, I wish I could remember what I was listening to, but anyway, it just made me think like, yeah, how come a company like Square Enix is like, yes, we need to go on an Xbox, but you have a game like a company like Bandai Namco coming out with a Gundam game that's just not going to be anywhere on Xbox. And we know that those Marvel games, Microsoft's working with them to get them ported. So it's like, how much of it is a porting issue? How much of it is just an Xbox as a platform issue? Or maybe it's a little bit of both. But I guess what I'm getting at is I would expect a company like Square Enix to actually be all over Xbox before Bandai Namco anyway. And if Square Enix wasn't in the first place, yeah, I think it just goes back to what was going on. They were just relying on money from Sony, keeping things exclusive, but it just doesn't pay out as much anymore. Which is interesting because you would then assume maybe the Xbox is only a small fraction of that, but it seems big enough that they would rather have games on Xbox than get money from PlayStation to keep it exclusive. And I mean that could have to be too with like there's this other component I think is missing a lot from companies. And I would say like Bandai Namco is one where Xbox and PC are almost synonymous. Like you could take advantage of that Xbox Play Anywhere, make a game available, on PC or Xbox to buy, and they can be played across both. I mean, that's just again when games have more features with them, they tend to do better, more ways to play and all that. So anyway, interesting. Oh yeah, there's going to be an August Direct and oh no, I'm sorry. What I'm talking about. There was an August Direct of Nintendo August that came up as a surprise, and I think the next surprise is the Sony State of Play at the end of September. So for me, that's cool. Like the gaming news, like I like that Sony did their little thing then, or Nintendo. I'm excited for Sony, especially for Sony to come back after a Concord, and then Concord. Oh man, Concord came out, and that whole thing. But then also with Astro Bot being like their main game, and that's released. What's next from Sony? What is their next big push is going to be? Is it just Lego Horizon? I don't know. Alex Donaldson, there's presently no active development on an Xbox version of Remake or Rebirth. That's interesting. And I wonder for some companies, is it viable to just release something as a cloud only? And I wonder if it's easier to do that, like where they could stream through xCloud. Yeah, there's a whole lot of Final Fantasy Xbox news, I guess. Ooh, leaked footage of the new Crazy Taxi game from Midori. Let's take a look. It looks like even the graphics, but also, this is an early build, so. Oh, and this is recorded in 2022. Yeah, so this is definitely old. But I like what I see going on here because it has like the typical Crazy Taxi look, but it's like integrated with what looks like some racing mission structure, but if it has like the fun, just kind of that like adrenaline of going through the city, kind of the cartooniness of it, picking up people, dropping them off for points, sliding around, drifting. That should be fun. Man, that was from 2022. It's interesting sometimes to consider how much time developers will work on a game. Whoa, leaked early gameplay and opening of the new Shinobi game. So another Sega thing. So it looks like, I guess these are some coordinated leaks from someone inside Sega or someone that has connections. Ooh, but look at, oh yeah, I think we've seen some of this before. This looks great. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not even sharing it. I am so sorry. Here we go. So you see, it's like 2D, 2D like hand-drawn art. I was trying to look to see if maybe it was potentially like 3D rendered in some way, but no, the look of it, and I guess I could make this bigger. Yeah, that looks better. Yeah, because it could be where it's 3D. Wow, what they're doing that's neat here is they're keeping it look like hand-drawn 2D animation, but they're really focusing on the cloth, the fabric. Like how the fabric looks when he's running. That just looks fantastic. Anyway, that looks good, doesn't it? And let's see. So I don't know if any more information on this, because I know this is one of many games. Oh, developed by Lizard Cube, Wonder Boy, The Dragon's Trap, and Caesar Ridge 4. So it's going to be good. Yeah, that is awesome news. Well, again, I should probably press this button. Okay. Let's go. I got to head out here shortly. Real quick, let's see. Yeah, okay. GTA 6 is originally 2025. I mean, but again, that's not official. I'll update tomorrow if we hear something. Yeah, and I'm gonna jump here quick, but just to see real quick if there is any other neat news. Sony seemingly raised the price of PS5 DualSense controllers, and that's funny. I think there's something wrong with my DualSense. Down on the analog, like moving down, it like doesn't do it all the way. Hopefully that's something I could fix, because I'm not crazy about buying another DualSense. Sega's mobile, yeah, Yakuza Wars, yeah, we talked about that. Okay, well, that's about it. Yeah, not any like crazy news or anything, unless the GTA thing is true. But I just thought, September 9th made me think of Dreamcast. And then that made me think of another anniversary, being that it's been 20 years as of July of the I Love Bees, which was a pivotal moment in my life. But yeah, that's it. All, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. I'll be back tomorrow with some more, but yeah, until then, be cool. See y'all later.